The morning in Flagstaff started like any other. A quiet stillness fell over the subdivision, birds singing from rooftops, sprinklers ticking over freshly watered lawns, sunlight slowly spilling golden light over quiet streets. Families sipped their first cups of coffee, still in pajamas, unaware that this average morning was about to become something out of the ordinary. And then, abruptly, it began. A low, metallic growl cut through the stillness, heavy, industrial, unstoppable. The rumble of a tow truck moving down the street like an animal. It slowed in front of a home everyone knew all too well, Kody Brown's home, once proud head of sister wives. In front of it was his most prized possession. Not only a car, his status symbol, his sanctuary, his shield. The car glittered in the sunlight, polished to a gleam like a trophy he had kept through gossip, breakups, and the slow decay of his family. But today, it was no longer a trophy. It was collateral. The truck came to a sullen stop, a driver clipboard in hand, and two expressionless bank officials stepped out. The uniforms carried the stamp of repossession. Their eyes settled on the car, moving with a cold confidence that tolerated no doubt. One official peeled off pink stickers from a roll read big, unmistakable, bank property seized. With each thud on the windshield, the sound echoed like a hammer against Kody's pride. Curtains snapped open, neighbors gasped. Phones held aloft, ready to catch the drop. Some gasped in shock, others grunted with a kind of twisted satisfaction. Within the home, Kody remained oblivious. Not yet. Chains scraped against the rims as the tow truck driver toiled methodically, each metallic screech a tick further toward loss. And then, the front door burst open. Kody burst out, hair disheveled, face red, voice shaking with rage and urgency. "What the hell are you doing?" he thundered. But the officers didn't flinch. Their reaction was brief, automatic, cruel. "Sir, this vehicle is under repossession." There were several notices mailed. The loan never was paid. Kody's voice rose, frantic as he stamped back and forth like a wounded animal. "No, no, no, my car. You can't do this. I'll call someone. I'll get it fixed." But the hydraulic lift drowned his protests. The car leaned, wheels rising off the road, powerless against the machine taking it away. By now, the entire street had gathered. Neighbors whispered, smirked, recorded. Some shocked, others entertained. This wasn't just repossession, it was humiliation. A man who once paraded his power now stripped bare, his symbol of control paraded onto the back of a tow truck. From inside, Robin's voice tried to soften the moment. "Kody, stop yelling. You're only making it worse." But his pride was already smoldering. He jabbed his finger at the officials, furious, quivering. "Do you know who I am? This is harassment." The officer didn't blink. "Sir, this is not personal. This is procedure. You didn't pay. The car is owned by the bank." And with those words, the truth became undeniable. Neighbors grumbled snappier now, rumors slicing deeper than any official proclamation. "Guess the sister wife's paycheck isn't enough anymore. Should have paid his bills instead of buying land that he couldn't develop." The comment stung more than the stickers plastered all over the car. Because this was not about losing a car, this was about losing face. Losing the one token that he clung to when everything else in his world fell apart. And now, in broad daylight, in front of cameras and wandering eyes, it was gone. Seized permanence. Kody's voice cracked again as he yelled into the morning air. Desperate, furious, beaten point. For Kody's voice cracked in desperation. "I'll fix it," he pleaded, but his words were swallowed by the cold machinery of consequence. The driver climbed back into the tow truck, turned the ignition, and with a hiss of hydraulics, the vehicle lurched forward. Kody's prized car bounced slightly, dragged away like a fallen king stripped of his crown. And then, The silence, that peculiar silence that always follows public shaming. Neighbors stood by, some shaking their heads, others smirking behind their phones. Kody was stagnant in the driveway, fists clenched, chest heaving. For so long, he'd presented himself as invincible, the provider, the patriarch, the man in control. But now, as his vehicle rounded the corner, he wasn't a man of control. He was a man small, helpless, vulnerable. The internet had no patience. Videos went viral on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook with captions screaming, "Kody Brown loses everything. Bank repossesses his car. The fall of a polygamous patriarch." What the neighbors witnessed was not repossession at all. It was ego repossession, the public stripping away of the very icon that had fueled Kody's ego. And if the bank could do this, what next? As the tow truck faded over the horizon, the last grind of hydraulics ceased and became quiet. The ensuing silence was a vacuum, heavy upon Kody as he stood red-faced and seething. But beneath the anger was something deeper, an unshakable truth. This wasn't about one morning or one mistake. This moment had been in the works for years. To understand how it all ended up this way, how Kody Brown lost the automobile he clung to as a lifeline, we have to go back to when he was juggling 4 wives, 18 children, and an endless merry-go round of bills. On television, Kody boasted about being the provider, the patriarch, the guy who made it all work. But behind the gussied-up confessionals and reality television drama, reality was much more harsh. 4 wives, 4 homes, dozens of children, each one with their own mortgages, electricity, groceries, insurance, doctor's bills. The numbers stacked higher and higher. Kody was not supporting a family, he was supporting a small town. Yes, the show earned a paycheck. TLC earned millions off the Brown family soap opera, but Kody's cut split between multiple households, barely touched into spending. His empire was founded not on wealth, but on borrowed time and borrowed dollars. That car, that was not just transportation. It was a statement, a vehicle purchased during the cycle of decline when Christine was losing it, Janelle was demanding independence, Meri was iced to the bone, and Robin was the sole thread keeping the family together. Walking into the dealership, Kody had his salesman swagger, the same charm he turned on for cameras, but instead of cash, he signed a steep loan agreement. Payments he convinced himself he could handle. The show will cover it, he told himself. I'll pay it off quickly. But reality was already on the sidelines waiting to happen. The loan could have been managed if it was an isolated incident. But combined with Coyote Pass property tax, attorney fees, weddings, college, and home expenses, it was a time bomb. Coyote Pass itself became an expense sinkhole, a dream that had become a curse, land purchased, contested, but never built upon. Taxes alone bled his resources dry. Add to that the weight of dissolved marriages and shifting responsibilities. Who pays what? Who is responsible for which bills? And the cracks widened into chasms. First, the bank was accommodating. A payment overdue here, a one missed there generous. Warnings arrived, polite in tone, but as months passed into years, the tone shifted. Letters arrived in red ink, final notice pay now, but Kody wasn't deterred. Maybe he was counting on TLC checks to bail him out. Maybe he was counting on refinancing to bail him out. Or maybe, deep inside his soul, he just couldn't seem to bring himself to accept that he was sinking. And even though Kody was sure everything would be all right, his neighbors had other opinions. Kody cruised through Flagstaff as if nothing was wrong. Windows down, music blaring, sunglasses perched on his face. It was his performance, his dare to the world. See, I'm fine. But deep down, he had to know. The clock was ticking. The moment of reckoning did not arrive with drama, but with paperwork. A notice stamped by a court clerk. Permission for the bank to seize his vehicle. Ownership vanished in that instant. The car was no longer his. It belonged to them. This was not vindictiveness. This was not rumor spreading. This was not even about sister wives. This was process. Cold, bureaucratic, irrefutable. To the world of finance, Kody Brown was not a television star. He was not a patriarch. He was just another debtor who had stopped paying. And so the crew came, confident, prepared, absolute in its authority. It knew the history, the missed payments, the broken promises, and with mechanical certainty, it carried out the repossession. But what hurt was not the loss of a car. It was what that car represented. For Kody, it was never a car, it was armor. A dream he clung to when all else fell apart. He waxed it like a trophy, drove it like a badge of honor, showed it off like proof that he was still in control. Even when his wives were drifting, even when his children's resentment grew, even when debts mounted higher than pride, he had this. And then one morning, that facade collapsed. The car was gone. The veil ripped off. The man who preached strength and control was revealed for who he was, not invincible, not untouchable, just another man drowning in ego and debt. The ripple was immediate. Christine posted cryptically, "Sometimes life takes away the things you hold on to, so you can finally see what is important." Fans didn't miss the reference. Janelle was more cutting, referring to poor priorities and how some would rather feel powerful than be responsible. Even Meri, who had been out of the drama for so long, could not resist a barbed remark. The truth always comes out in the end. And Robin wept. Inside the home, she begged Kody not to scream at the repossession officials, not to cause a scene, but scene was unavoidable. The repossession wasn't just an issue of losing a vehicle, it was another crack in a marriage that was held together by a thread. The internet blew up, the meme spread. Kody running after his car, Kody stuffed into a children's toy car. Captions mocking his ego and his unpaid bills. Hashtags were trending within the hour. Number Kody car seized. Number Brown family drama. Fans had been speculating about his money problems for years. Now they had proof. But the repossession was never just about one car. It was the flare, the shot across the bows, the public symptom of something much larger. If he couldn't keep the car, what then of the land in Coyote Pass? The mortgages, the business deals, the back taxes. What domino would be the next to drop? For Kody's collapse wasn't sudden. It was slow, relentless, and driven by decades of denial. And the car? That was just the first casualty. That morning in Flagstaff, as neighbors stood silently and watched, they weren't watching a tow truck haul off metal and wheels. They were watching pride being repossessed. Pride far harder to recover than any vehicle. The sun was overhead now, casting the street in light. But for Kody, it wasn't warmth. It was exposure. Every crack in his carefully constructed facade was lit up for the world to see. Chains rattled, hydraulics wailed, the automobile lifted higher, and with each groan of machinery, Kody's pride dissolved further. Neighbors required no TLC cameras. Reality television was being played out live on the sidewalk. Kody exploded out, shouting into the morning air like a man in the dock. "What in the devil's name do you think you are doing?" Hair disheveled, face red, his body shook with fury, but the officer didn't flinch. Clipboard clutched tightly, his voice steady. "Mr. Brown, this vehicle is being repossessed by bank order. Notices were sent. Payments weren't made. We are authorized to take it with immediate effect." But Kody wasn't listening. His pride wouldn't let him. He walked on, boots grinding on gravel, clinging to the only shield he had left, anger. "Sir, "This vehicle no longer belongs to you," replied the officer. Firm but calm, the words dropped like a sledge. Not just metal, not just tires. His identity, his sanctuary, his proof of ownership was being taken away from him. This car had been more than a mode of transportation. It had been Kody's refuge, the reminder to him that he was still important in a world where his wives were leaving, his children were fighting, and the painstakingly constructed mask of patriarch was starting to wear thin. And now, during daylight, it was being taken from him across the street. The crowd had gathered. Groups of people, coffee cups in hand, slouching against mailboxes, towing bare feet in driveways, children peeking out from behind parents, phones aloft, some secretly filming, others live streaming, as if bringing breaking news of Kody Brown's universe crumbling. "She used to drive that car like she owned the whole street," a woman complained. "That is karma," a man whispered. The shame wasn't just losing the car, it was losing it in public, in front of people who knew him from television, who knew the scandals, who had watched his rise and his empire of appearances crumble. Inside, Robin's voice trembled as she emerged into the doorway. "Kody, please," she called, desperate. "Stop yelling. You're only making it worse." But fury had taken hold. His pride, his masculinity, all laid bare, left him deaf to reason. "This is harassment. I'll call my lawyer. I'll sue all of you," he shouted. The officer's voice remained level, unwavering. "You may contact your lawyer, sir, but the car is leaving today." Robin stepped closer, hands shaking, reaching for him. "Please," she whispered. "The kids are watching. You're humiliating yourself." And somewhere, behind the curtains, little eyes peeked out. Innocent children watched their father fall apart in front of them. The tow truck thundered, silencing his cries. Slowly, painfully, the car was raised. Tires screamed, metal groaned, chained, hanging, powerless. It was a scene of Kody's power laid bare. He ran after it as though willpower alone could stop machinery. Bank employees stepped between him and the truck. "Step back, sir. Don't get in the way," one of them told him sternly. And so the car crept down the street. The road screamed in protest under the wheels. Neighbors followed behind, cameras raised, capturing each humiliating moment. Kody was frozen in position, fists clenched, panting for breath, eyes vacant. The banging slide of the tow truck was more than noise. It was condemnation, a judgment that the man who had once asserted control had lost it completely. Minutes went by, and the clips were everywhere. A 30-second clip caught Kody's rage as the car swayed onto the truck, going viral before he could even blink. Captions mocked. "Reality star loses his car. Kody Brown seized." Memes went viral. Kody chasing a toy car. Christine behind the wheel of a tow truck. Witty captions about defaulted loans and bruised egos. The internet had a field day. Word spread quickly in the Brown household. Christine wrote on Instagram cryptically, "Sometimes the things you hold on to the most are the first to go. Let it go, and you may finally see the truth." Janelle was more blunt in her comment, reminding everyone that life pays back hard work and rewards complacency. Even distant and detached Meri couldn't resist joining in. When the mask slips, the truth is undeniable. But Robin felt it differently. To her, this wasn't an episode. This was a sorrow. She had begged Kody to listen, to prioritize, to reason, but pride came ahead, and now the cost was more than she could endure. Back in the driveway, as neighbors increasingly fell away and the tow truck disappeared into the distance, Kody finally lost it. He fell onto the curb, face in his hands, shoulders quaking, not with tears, but with sheer convulsive fury. Fury at the bank, the neighbors, TLC, his wives, and himself. For years, he had believed that he was invincible, that no storm would ever knock him off his feet. But now he was not standing. The driveway was empty, the house diminished, and his pride, once as polished as that car, broke apart on the ground. What had occurred that morning was never ever merely a repossession. It was a reckoning. The car leaving the driveway wasn't simply metal heading off to be hauled away. It was a metaphor, a symbol of Kody Brown losing grip on it all, his family, his finances, his public image. And since it happened in daylight hours with witnesses in the form of neighbors and cell phones recording every moment, the embarrassment wouldn't remain within the community. It was filmed, posted, reviewed, and ridiculed forever on the web. The man who once invited America into his home with sister wives had now innocently invited his demise into the country. Kody crouched on the curb, fingers in his hair, neighbors retreating to their kitchens, children to school, Robin returning inside. The heavy burden of reality fell on him. It wasn't the car he'd lost, exactly, but face, respect, myth of control, and already the internet was mocking. Within minutes, a 40-second clip, taken on the phone of a neighbor, had gone viral. The tow truck hauling away, the car, Kody yelling, Robin hysterically yelling in the background. Caption: when reality television turns into real reality, Kody Brown car towed away. Views balloon, comments converged. Karma finally came with a tow truck. Christine must be laughing hysterically. Memes go viral like wildfire. The car dangling from the tow truck became a joke. There was one stating, when you skip paying for 18th kid's child support, but go out and acquire a new set of wheels. Another trimmed Kody screaming in a remix, with every scream on beat drop. The most ruthless meme split the screen. Christine smiling in her upgrade, Kody yelling at the tow truck. Caption: her upgrade versus his downgrade. Reddit and fan sites went into orbit. First the house, then the property. One user quipped, "I can only imagine what Robin's making of this," posted another. "If TLC doesn't show this on season 20, they're leaving money on the table." Critics had mocked and shamed Kody's polygamous lifestyle for years, but now they weren't watching delicately edited drama. Now they were watching reality, unfiltered and unedited, and they couldn't help themselves. Even casual viewers joined in, posting sarcastic quips on Twitter. Imagine yelling at a tow truck like it's your fourth wife. Kody, I'm in control. Bank, no, you're not. They should have let Meri drive the tow truck. Some joked the car was his fifth wife, divorced by the bank. Each meme, each snarky post, chipped away at the image Kody had fought to maintain. Sympathy existed, but it was not strong. Some posted, "It is just a vehicle. Don't mock someone at their lowest point." He is still a father. The children will notice this. But they were engulfed by the tsunami of mockery and the ex-wives. They weighed in, fire stirring in hushed tones. Christine shared a photo of herself sipping tea. Caption: sometimes you just sit back and watch life unfold. Janelle shared, "The choices you make today echo into tomorrow. Choose wisely." Meri, as opaque as ever, weighed in. Masks eventually slip. Truth always reveals itself. With each tweet, each comment, the fire was fueled. Fans connected the dots to the viral videos, reposting, sharing, adding commentary. Robin had nothing to say. No acerbic tweets, no wry insight, no humor. She didn't think any of this was funny. This was not television. This was not a show. It was torture. It broke her heart. Robin sobbed for several hours after the tow truck was out of sight, not just for herself, but for her children. They didn't have to see that. She has been quoted as saying to a friend, her silence was a story in itself. Everyone speculated ad infinitum. Was she protecting Kody, or was she upset with him for letting things get out of control? Whatever the reason, the silence rang out louder than any tweet ever could. What began as block party, sideshow, and social media sensation quickly became headlines mainstream. Celebrity news sites yelped, Kody Brown's car repossessed before neighbors. Bank repossesses Brown patriarch's car in public shaming. Sister wives star faces fiscal collapse. The tape was replayed on newscasts, the commentators placing dramatic context over every second of chaos. Side-by-side photographs contrasted Kody's breakdown with Christine's seeming serene union with her new husband. Overnight, it was a national news story. Fans interpreted the symbolism. The truck was not an automobile, it was Kody's pride. Dragged away from him, poetic justice, offered one reader. It is not even a car. It is everything. His wives, his kids, his reputation, now even his stuff, typed another. For old school fans, this was the tragic ending to a drama that had played out over years. Real-world repercussions overwhelming anything posed for television. The burning question on everyone's lips, would TLC air it? Some called it too raw, too honest. Others saw ratings gold, realizing that showing oneself always ensures viewers. Meanwhile, Kody desperately struggled. Friends were called, lamenting about injustice and cyberbullies, reported the sources. Posts were attempted to be erased, but they were immortalized on the web, and comments were merciless. Need a ride, Kody? Pay your bills first. Bank now your fifth wife. Each response in an attempt to fight back only contributed to the ridicule. By evening, a ordinary repossession had turned into a cultural phenomenon. The headlines screamed. Cryptic tweets from estranged wives added fuel. Robin wept by herself, and Kody sat in the aftermath. Angry, embarrassed, powerless. This was more than a car repossessed. It was theater, symbolism, and lesson in one. Passers-by wondered, if this was only a repossession on the curb, what would Kody Brown's collapse look like in courtrooms, foreclosure postings, or the final act of Sister Wives? The internet had already delivered its verdict. The man who had once billed himself as the face of polygamy was now the face of bankruptcy. Outside, the street returned to its usual rhythm. Sprinklers hissed, a delivery van rattled down the road, a dog barked at nothing in particular. But within Kody's chest, all was not well. The tow truck had ripped off more than a car. It had removed armor he'd worn for years, and with it gone, questions churned like a cold wind. What is next? Repossession is never an isolated domino. It shakes the entire table. Car loans fail. Autos are sold at auction. Deficiency balances linger. Credit reports scream. Interest rates rise. Negotiation with lenders becomes filled with suspicion. Each missed payment made others stand out. If one of the vehicles was at risk, what could be said of Coyote Pass property? His legacy, once imagined as a monument to the Brown family name, now clashed with the real world: taxes, upkeep, and on-time payments. Each decision came with a cost sell, and it would be called surrender by fans. Hold, and the bills kept rolling out in relentless accumulation. Build, and the lenders would blacklist him as a risk. Reputation was currency, and Kody's currency had always been controversy. But controversy doesn't pay taxes. The car on the tow truck wasn't just a car. It was controversy in the flesh. Humiliating, irrefutable, costly. Sponsors blanch, editors salivate. On Twitter, there was plenty of laughter, but underneath pulsed a deeper truth: credibility. When a man who screams about control loses a car for not paying, viewers start asking themselves, what else is storytelling, and what is survival? Some get unsubscribed. Others view more intently. Not because of respect, but curiosity. Clicks may come, but dignity escapes. And dignity, for Kody, was the fastest casualty. For the Browns, this wasn't a meme. It was a stress test. Marriages creak under financial pressure, and the Browns had creaked for years. Robin bore the short-term weight, seeing the kids' questions, listening to the gentry rumors, sensing the thin ice beneath her feet. She longed to shield, to ground, to erase the shame, but even courage has a price tag. Her hushed question in the dark, "Are we safe?" Christine was gone, constructing a new life, new beat, new peace to her supporters. The repossession was confirmation. Abandonment breeds abandonment. She didn't need to. The web would take care of that. Janelle calculated unobtrusively responsibilities, priorities, budgets left behind by Kody, the tow truck. A phrase she had encountered in deadlines and numbers. A soft fact, you can't repair something you won't own up to. Meri remained an outside observer, not in the midst of it, but attuned to its significance. She knew the price of lying. Having paid it herself, she would not fight, not rescue. She would watch as the truth transpired. And the children, they bore it most. Children don't consider stories. They experience echoes, missed rides, meals on the table, the fury splashing down the hallway. Repossession wasn't simply din, it was a memory branded into their daily lives. For the network, ratings gold, the tow truck, the stickers, the yelling, the crying, a spectacle delicately balanced on the high wire between empathy and exploitation. Confessionals could stage it, Kody pacing, talking, begging for sympathy. Ex-wives might deliver the hard talk, producers could ask the hard questions, editors could compile the redemption story, but exposure is a two-way street with a price. It heals if answered in good faith. It burns if contested. Kody faced 3 doors in a fresh, paint-scent hallway of past choices. Door 1. Denial. Blame the bank, the cut, everyone but himself. Cyber wars. Ruckus, not respect. Credit still terrible. The next tow truck approaches. Door 2. Transaction. Package the debacle. Interviews, specials, spin-offs. Sell shame for cash. Temporary reprieve, but the cycle starts anew. Fewer exits, more danger. Door number 3. Change. The toughest road. Own up to the mistake. Call the bank. Meet with a financial advisor. Cut, sell, consolidate. Apologize to family members. Not for appearance, but for impact. Prove trust through action, not words. Open the door slowly, carefully. All comebacks start with a single simple telephone call. Here is what I owe. Here is what I can pay. Here is how I'll make it right. And then followed by consistent action, day by day, month by month. That is how reputations are restored. When hashtags can't, the future isn't sexy, it is bland, it is real. Imagine a scene where Kody listens instead of blows up, budgets instead of brags, acts instead of avoids. Modern audiences are tough, but somehow lenient. They pardon sincerity but mock creativity. Kody must give both apology and redress. Without both, credibility dies. And in Robin Tuck's home, a hushed conversation is waiting. When the kids are asleep, Robin Tuck lays down the rules. Not in anger, but in clarity. No surprises anymore. No picture over needs. If we can't afford it, we don't have it. If we owe it, we pay. If we promise, we make Tuck's promise good. She doesn't ask for greatness, but stability. If he crosses that line one more time, the house will get quiet. Not the noisy quiet of a tow truck, but a quieter sort of quiet. One that requires a choice. Behind every headline is a bedtime. Behind every meme, a backpack. The children did not get to choose the cameras. They did not get to choose the story. They simply feel the room, the weight of what occurs. Kody's future, then, is bigger than money. If he desires a legacy that is not a warning, he must construct days that are dull, predictable, reproducible, breakfast on time, routines maintained, bills paid, voices low. That is not television magic. It is the magic that counts. Nowadays, the web has officially declared him done, But the same world that mocks is also strangely patient when it comes to humility. If Kody gets real before the next episode, pays the owing before another camera starts to roll in, puts out the work before putting out the words, then a turnaround might be in order. The same people who have laughed might say, "All right, that is a start." Not applause, not absolution, just a start. Imagine this, a quiet afternoon some weeks from now. No tow trucks, no taping neighbors. Kody in a simple office chair, not a confessional booth, jotting out a payment plan with steady hands. A plain used car on the street, parked legally, paid for, insured. He holds the door open for a child before him. He double-checks the car seats. He drives not to make a statement, but to keep a promise. No soundtrack, no front-page news headline. Just a man choosing door number 3. Again, humiliation is not a sanction. It is a mirror, a reflective, agonizing mirror that asks only one question: do you repair what is or retouch what is seen? The future of Kody, his money, his family, his season, his legacy hinges on that choice. Cars can be repossessed, credit can be rebuilt, land can be sold and resold, but trust. Trust is earned in the private, unseen repetition of doing what is right. And so, it began with a tow truck.